So my wife and I never thought that we would have a home in Idaho. If you asked me 5 or 10 years ago if she and I would have a house in Idaho, I would have said, what? Why Idaho? I mean, I've heard about it. I know it's supposed to be clean and it's, outdoorsy, but it was just never in our life plans. But then came the year 2020, and a lot of things for a lot of people were upended, right? She and I had a lot of things to think about. And now, after having a home in Idaho for almost, say, 18 months, I can tell you the many things that I have learned. So in this video, I want to cover 10 things that I and my wife have experienced. This is going to be both of our opinions together. I'm going to share it in the video, but that's what we're going to talk about today all through this video. So this is going to be one of my most exciting videos about living in Idaho. So you better sit down and buckle up because here we go. Hey everybody, it's your host here, Dave Baker, with the Living in Idaho team. Now, in today's video, I'm super excited because it's kind of a recap. It's kind of a personal experience episode. And this is something I've been thinking about because I'm always looking at different cities, kind of across America, even though I have lived in Western states only. And I have to say, they're just all so different. Just because something is geographically close does not mean that it's the same, right? So I was talking to my wife about this and I said, let's make a list of the top 10 things we have noticed since getting our home in Idaho, since spending a lot of time in Idaho, being in the Treasure Valley, what's different about the other places where we've lived or where we've traveled, right? And now I have some good life experience. And I'm going to tell you that some of it is what I expected and some of it is not what I expected. Now, before I get into this list, I know you want to watch it, you want to hear it, I'm psyched about it. Make sure that you tap that little subscribe button and click that little bell so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video all about living in Boise, Eagle, Star, Caldwell, Middleton, anywhere in the Treasure Valley. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about you, Emmett and Horseshoe Bend and all these other cool cities. And I've got a video coming out about McCall as well, where I got to vacation. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's get started. And as I go through the list, I really, really want to hear your comments. I know a lot of you are going to have some comments and some ideas, especially those of you who live in Idaho already. So if you need to leave a comment, just pause the video for a second, drop a note, and hit play again. Okay, so I'm going to go through these in no particular order. So I've made a list of 10 things, and she noticed a few things that I noticed. We noticed a few different things, and we've come up with this as the top list. So in no special order, let's start with number 1, the relaxed lifestyle. So of all the places I've ever had homes or lived, which include Las Vegas, Nevada, in Oregon, I hate to say the city name on an Idaho channel, but it was Portland. Yes, it's Portland, Oregon. And Southern California, I have never been to a place as relaxed as Idaho. My stress level has dramatically reduced. There are probably a few reasons for that, right? There's not a ton of traffic, although I do want to say in the Treasure Valley on Eagle Road and in Nampa, I have experienced quite a bit of traffic during rush hour, but it's nothing like the other places. Okay, I also rarely have to drive on the freeway. I mean, you can drive on 84. You can take the connector, 184, to downtown Boise. But the way I feel is probably a product of the people who are around me, the environment. Even when I go work like at an office, for example, I don't feel the hustle and bustle energy, which has its ups and downs. But overall, I feel incredibly relaxed. The other thing is because of the lifestyle, like let's compare living in Las Vegas, Nevada, where you have events every day you can attend, tons of conventions, all these things where you have FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, which is a common thing people feel. I don't have that in Idaho. But that's one reason people move to Idaho, right? That's why people love the Treasure Valley. It's a relaxed lifestyle. I see people just going for a walk along the Greenbelt. I go for walks along the Greenbelt. I walk in my own neighborhood. The grounds and the walking areas are quite nice. It is cold, obviously, in the winter, but at the same time, that overall relaxed feeling is quite unique. And it's something that I have not had in other cities. I think it's a combination of all the things I mentioned. The people, the events, the overall lack of hustle and bustle, which I know a lot of people want to escape. People are leaving big cities, right? They want the Idaho lifestyle. Before I continue, I want you to remember something. If you're leaving a big city, remember why you're leaving. So when you come to Idaho, look around, see what you appreciate there. Things are different. And I know some people move from big cities to Idaho, which is a little more rural, obviously. Even Boise is not a megalopolis, right? There's a reason they don't want you to bring some of your ideas with you to change their locations, to change their towns, because the reason you move there is because you like what's going on there, right? And I see those stickers that say, don't California my Idaho, don't California my everywhere, right? You see them for Texas and all over. But there's a reason for that. Think about it. You're fleeing somewhere, right? I know. I'm going to make a video about that. So what happened in the place you're fleeing is probably not what you want to happen in the place you're going to. Just something to think about. Okay. Item number 2 that I learned. Winter is much colder than I expected. Now, I have spent a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, that's going to be Washington and Oregon. I'm going to call Idaho the Northwest because I noticed a lot of people didn't like when I said Pacific Northwest because obviously it's not on the Pacific Ocean. So clearly, Idaho is not located on the Pacific Ocean. There are beautiful waterways, but it's not on the Pacific Ocean. We know this. No problem. But the winter is not what I expected. As you see from my videos, I have a lot of outdoors gear, right? Because I go hiking. You see me with down jackets. Some people call them puffer jackets. You see me wearing fleece. You see me wearing sweaters. You see me wearing clothes that are built for the outdoors. But it wasn't until I moved, got a place in the Treasure Valley where I understood what cold really was. Now, I realize this isn't the East Coast. So those of you who are watching from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, this is not the same. But it was cold. For me, it was a change. My wife noticed it too. My parents are a little hesitant to come visit because of the temperature in the winter. So they only want to visit in the summer. It's the first time that I ever really appreciated buying fleece pants. And if you've never worn fleece pants, they've come in really handy for me in the cold. The other interesting thing is I was going to an office in downtown Boise and it was a much older building. So the heating wasn't working so well. So I had to wear the fleece pants indoors. I saw people wearing jackets indoors. It's like everyone was prepared. Okay. Item number 3 I've experienced. I drive more because my place is in the suburbs. This is something I did not realize. I have never really lived in what I'm going to call suburbia. If you're coming from California, you might not really know what a suburb is if you live in Northern or Southern California. If you live rurally, it's different. If you come from Arizona, you live in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe area. Again, you might live in a housing development, but you might have things all around you, all the shopping, all the restaurants, everything you want, even though you're not in the heart of the city. But because I chose to live outside of Boise, for me, it was a big change. I also did not realize how long it would take me to drive places. For example, to drive to Highway 84 or to drive to downtown Boise can take me 25 or 30 minutes. If you're doing that every day and you're not used to that, it might be a big change. So that is something else that really shocked me. I just hadn't realized that a lot of suburbs don't have a lot of food, entertainment, and things of that nature. That's not to say the city where I'm in doesn't have restaurants and such. It's just not what I'm accustomed to. I mean, they have multiple supermarkets. You know, even if you live in Star, which has a population maybe around 10,000, you still have Ridley's, you have the new Albertsons, you have different things. But it's a change that affected me and something I noticed. Now, speaking about food, let's talk about item number 4. The food choices in the Treasure Valley are more limited. Again, for me, coming from Southern California originally, if you're watching this video, I know you hear the word California and you want to drop a certain type of comment. I didn't bring California ideas to Idaho. Then coming from Las Vegas and living in Portland and doing all these different things. Well, when you come from these places where you have thousands of restaurants, it's a little bit of a change. I've noticed there is certainly a lot of American food. That could be barbecue, sandwiches, things like that. And there are great American food restaurants in Idaho. And there are local options too, like you've got still ice cream, things of that nature. But it's definitely a change. I actually was talking to someone who told me they moved, I think, from Southern California. And they said how they used to eat sushi 4 days a week. And I said, well, what are you doing here? They said, oh yeah, it's such a big change. I didn't realize there barely is any of that. To be fair, there are many restaurants that have sushi. It's just different. And if you've never lived in those other places, it's a change. But again, if you're moving to Idaho, I want you to remember, you like Idaho for a reason. You like the Treasure Valley. You like Boise, Eagle, Star, Middleton, Nampa. You like something about the culture there. And one thing is the culture there might not have all of the foods you're accustomed to, but there are trade-offs and a lot of other things that you love, right? And I want to say something about the food options because I noticed things are expanding. I've noticed quite a few new restaurants. We've got the new food hall downtown in Boise. They had a variety of foods like Japanese food. They had a bar. They had quite a few different foods. I think there's a grilled cheese place. I actually cannot remember because I have not been there recently since it opened. I went there opening day, actually, and then I went again later for some more food options. Also, in Eagle, I see the Barbacoa, one of the famous restaurants from Boise, is opening a Koa, which is be on the water in Eagle. That's awesome. There's a lot of, new restaurants that are opening. I'm quite surprised. I follow the restaurants that are opening. We've got a new restaurant in Star next to Ridley's. That opened. And you do have more food options coming in. It's just different than what some of you may be accustomed to. Number 5 on the list. Boise is the hub for a lot of things. Now, what am I talking about here? This was something, again, that goes back to my comment about the suburbs. A lot of times when I want to go to do something, I want to go to a meeting, I want to go to a meetup, one of those like networking events or things of that nature, or I want to go to some sort of party. A lot of times they're held in Boise. So this was a change for me because I live west, right? I live further down. I don't live in downtown Boise. Well, every time I want to do something, I have to drive there. For me, that was a change to drive 25 to 30 minutes. Now, to be fair, part of Boise is much closer to me, and Meridian, which also has events, is not far away. But at the same time, a lot of things take place in Boise. If you want to go to a concert, it's not at the Ford Center. It might be in downtown. My friends went to a comedy show. It was downtown. People wanted to go out. They wanted to go to the Grove. People wanted to go out to some of the other restaurants down off Main. And once again, I had to return to Boise. Boise is the hub for the downtown or the Southwest region, right? And if you're looking at the northern Idaho, like Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, you're talking about something different, right? There's not such a downtown, so to speak, where there's a lot of commerce and such. You do have Sherman Street or Sherman Way in Coeur d'Alene, but it's nothing like Boise. Boise is a city center where business takes place, and that's where meetings are held, and there's a lot of stuff there. But again, as I drive along State Street, drive along Eagle Road, I do notice things are growing more and more and more. So that was, again, another change for me. All right, let's move on to item number 6 on the list. And that is going to be people in Idaho love the outdoors. Now, you would think everybody just knows that. And since I had spent a lot of time, I have a place in Oregon, I was accustomed to loving the outdoors. In fact, it wasn't until I went to the Northwest that I understood what it meant to love the outdoors. I just didn't understand, probably because I'd lived in a place full of traffic or I'd lived in a desert, right? So it's different. When you live in a desert, you don't want to go hiking when it's 110 degrees outside. Not to knock Nevada, which I absolutely love Nevada, and I love Red Rock Canyon. I love to go hiking. That is my outdoor passion. But when it's 115 out, maybe I'll stay indoors that day or for 3 months in a row. But in Idaho, the outdoors, Again, they participate in the love of the outdoors that the Northwest has. So people there love to go hunting. People love to go floating on the river. I did go floating on the river. It was pretty amazing, actually. That is something that I had not done for years. And I went on the Boise River a few times. I even bought my own raft. I've got inner tubes. I've got the pump system. By the way, electric pump, that's for me. I love the electric pump. Plug it in the back of my car, pump it up, float on the river. It's an amazing experience. There is a lot of hiking. You've got climbing, you've got Table Rock, you've got Bogus Basin, you've got all these things, skiing, etc. And when I talk to people about what they do in their free time, well, it's certainly different than Nevada, what I hear in the city, right, in Las Vegas, or what I hear in other places where people are focused on going out to dinner. Well, I became a little more outdoorsy, and when I went and did, the river float, what did I do after that? Went to someone's house and barbecued. That's not what everybody does in the world where I'm from. A lot of people go out to dinner all the time. So that was a big change. I want to tell you this story about when my friend from Idaho, an Idaho native, he's born and raised in Idaho, lives in Boise. He comes down to Las Vegas. Right, we go down, he's checking out the city, not the strip, not the Las Vegas strip, like the city, where like the area people live. We'll call them the suburbs, checking out Henderson. And he looks at all the stuff to do, all these shopping centers. There's food everywhere. There's gaming. There's entertainment, shows, concerts. He's like, wow, there's so much to do here. And then his friend calls on the phone. And he says, I'm thinking about moving to Las Vegas for a little while. And his friend said, what? Las Vegas is boring. What are you going to do there? I'm thinking to myself, Las Vegas is like the entertainment capital of the world, not just America, of the world. And his friend, also from Idaho, said, it's boring. What are you going to do there? And that was a little bit of a wake-up call too, because I heard the conversation. He said, well, there's not really any hunting, and hunting is his passion. And I've met many Idahoans who absolutely love hunting and love the mountains. Now, there are mountains in other places. I mean, maybe not if you're moving to the Midwest. And there are mountains in all the areas connected to Idaho, right? You've got Washington, Oregon, You could keep going east, Montana, Wyoming, as far as you want. There are some mountains. But the activities that exist outside of Idaho are not the same. For him, it was hunting and floating on the river. And his passion for the outdoors was something that made him realize that Idaho is a place for him, right? Because he has the activities in the outdoors that he wants to participate in. To hear somebody from another place say that Las Vegas is boring blew my mind. It's kind of like saying there's nothing to do in New York City. Now, I don't want to live in New York City. Okay, that's not the lifestyle for me. But it's probably fun to visit, right? There's a lot of stuff to do. There's things to see, like sights to see. There's just experiences to have. Doesn't mean you have to live there. And even if you hate New York City for some reason, I know some of you watching this channel don't have an affinity for that place. That's okay. But to be fair, there is a lot to do there. So I thought that was interesting. Okay. The next thing I want to bring up is something my wife and I appreciate. Number 7. I think the Treasure Valley is very pet friendly. The number of people with dogs is a little shocking to me. I've also noticed that there are a lot of dog parks. My wife and I have taken our dog. We had 2 dogs, but if I've mentioned dogs in the past, we did have 2 dogs, and unfortunately, one passed away and is, he will be spending his eternity probably in the great gem state of Idaho. But anyway, we have taken our dog to the dog parks. I see people bring dogs in certain restaurant areas. People have dogs outside. Sometimes when I'm in Boise itself, I do see dog bowls outside of restaurants where dogs can get some water, or outside of shops. And I actually saw it at a bar in Eagle. There was a dog bowl outside of a bar. So there's actually a bar I went to where there was a dog just running around the bar. So anyway, the point is that I feel it's very pet friendly. There are places that are not conducive to pets in the world, right? But because in the Treasure Valley, a lot of homes have at least some sort of backyard. It's not so compressed and dense that you can't have a dog, a backyard, or some space for your animal, right? But a lot of newer homes have dog doors built into them. I find this exciting because I think personally I would prefer that than putting a dog door into a sliding glass door. And that's something I really love. If you're thinking that you need a house that's pet friendly, dog friendly, let us know when you reach out, because there are homes that have dog runs on the side of them, where you have the gated area where your dog can go run around and play and have a good time. There are quite a few of those that I've seen. I wish that I actually had one of those, so my little dog is bolt around back and forth and get that energy out. But it is available, so make sure you let us know. It's just one of the, that's one of your criteria. It might be available. If you're coming like from some big city where you have no space or anything like that, when you come to Idaho and you appreciate the space, you're gonna appreciate that dog run too. All right, let's go to item number 8 on the list. Wasn't sure how to make the 8. Should I do the 5 and the 3, the 4 and the 4? I'm going with 8. That is, there are vacation spots close to the Treasure Valley. So when I first came to Boise, okay, I drove east on 84. I was coming from Oregon. I was moving stuff, okay? And I said, wow, look at all these places. That was something that I appreciated about Oregon. For all of its flaws, it is beautiful, and there are a lot of towns to visit, like Hood River, etc. And you have the coast. Now, you can drive from the Treasure Valley to the Oregon coast or the Washington coast, but you're looking at 6.5 to 7 hours in the car. But by the Treasure Valley, we do actually have some vacation spots. When I first looked at the map, I did not appreciate that. And I'm going to tell you something. I only came to Boise, Eagle, Star, all these different places where I was looking, Meridian, a few times before I made the purchase. I'm going to make a video about why I bought a place in Idaho. I think a lot of you are going to relate to this, and it's video worthy. Okay, it's video. We're going to make a video just about that. Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is there are places you can drive that I didn't even know existed before. Okay, the first place that comes to mind, of course, is McCall. McCall is like the lake town on Payette Lake where you can, there's a little beach area, there's a resort, there are hotels, of course, you can stay at. It's a quaint little town. There's restaurants you can walk to. You can spend the weekend there. You can spend a few days there. When I went there, we got like a shaved ice. We walked along the marina area. Then I walked to another area and I took my dogs at the time and they played a little and we went to the park. We went to so many different things and there were people just on the lake. The lake is incredible. It reminds me of Lake Tahoe up in northern Nevada and that other state to the west. That other one. They share the lake. But we love the Nevada side. So being able to drive to McCall is great. It's a great getaway. I went there in the summer and maybe a little bit later too, when it wasn't so warm. Oh, it was just great. It reminds me of like a beach town where you just want to spend a long time. And then I know it's on a lake, but it is a beach. There are beaches, right? And then you walk around and there's like little restaurants and shops and there's a supermarket. It's not that small, right? You've got an Albertsons over there. And having that is really great. Now, on the way there, you also have Donnelly, right? Another great place to visit. And the reason I want to bring these up is because you may never have heard of them. So Donnelly, another great place to visit. If you're into camping and want to see just a serene environment, Stanley, Stanley, when you're tired of being a city slicker and you want to get away from that and you think the hustle and bustle of the Treasure Valley is too much for you, right? Meridian's getting crazy. I got to get out of town. Stanley, wow, that is a gorgeous piece of nature right there. And again, if you don't appreciate the outdoors, when you come to Idaho, you are going to appreciate it. The Northwest and Pacific Northwest, I'm going up west, right? It's amazing. The trees, the outdoors, the water, the Boise River, just going on the Star River walk, all that stuff. It's wonderful. The other vacation spot I want to mention, if you don't know about, is Tamarack, okay? When I went to Tamarack, it's still not completed. Only some businesses are open, but it's like an alpine village where you can go vacation. They have restaurants. You can even buy condos there. And if you are interested in buying a place in the Tamarack area, and there are houses too, let me know. You can actually get a place in the village right there. And our team would be happy to help you with that too. I would love to have a place there. Just go out there for the weekend. You just like come downstairs and there's just restaurants, there's stuff to do. It's really nice over there. And if you like mountain biking, Heck yeah, that place is great. I saw people taking their bikes out. They were going a little extreme, but these guys were like practically pros. And then of course in the winter, when the snow falls down, you can hit the slopes. So it's good in the summer and the winter. That's Tamarack Resort. If you want more information on living there, send us an email, send us a text message. If you want a vacation there, I have teamed up with some friends who would be happy to help you with your vacation needs. You can go down in the description and let them know you saw them with the Idaho crew and see if they have any specials for people who watch the Idaho crew channel. They have hotels, vacations, all that stuff. So when you want to come up to the Northwest Idaho and the surrounding areas, let them know, tell them the Idaho crew sent you, and see what happens. Okay, we've got 2 more items on the list. I did save the best for last. I did. I saved the best for last. I was saying there are no particular order, but I just realized I saved the best for last. Let's go to item number 9 on the list. That's going to be the safety of Idaho. Okay. Obviously, I'm specifically talking about the Treasure Valley because my home is, in the Treasure Valley. If you don't know the Treasure Valley, that's going to be Boise, Eagle, Star, Middleton, Caldwell, you've got Meridian, it's these surrounding areas here. If I didn't give a shout out to any cities, let me know in the comments. What does it feel like to be this safe? Okay, I have been on vacation in Japan, which I heard is one of the safest places on earth. I have been on vacation in Singapore, which is really cool to visit. It's a very unique experience. Those were like very unique experiences, but they were incredibly safe. When people ask me how safe Idaho is, sometimes I say things like, I feel like it's safer than being in Japan or Singapore. Let me tell you how good my wife and I feel here. Remember how I'm going to make that video about why I came to Idaho? Well, that's going to be a discussion about Portland. Okay, if you follow the news at all, you know there are things going on there. Now, not everyone cares about that stuff, and it's not as big as they make it seem. But there are things that happen. And then coming from Las Vegas or California, where people lock their doors. I mean, they're car doors, right? Like you get in the car, you lock your doors, things like that. Even in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, I mean, I still see people do that. Some people have modern cars, the doors are self-locking, etc. I don't even think about that when I'm in Idaho. When I'm anywhere in Idaho. I've only spent a little time heading north, so what I really know is the Treasure Valley. I have stopped at some other waterfalls, by the way. But there is a reason people are moving out of cities and out of politically different areas, you know what I'm talking about, to Idaho. That's because they don't necessarily feel safe. So when you come to Idaho, wow. My wife, okay, there was this one night I went to Winco and, well, I got sushi, okay? It was late. It was like 10:30 and they had some sushi. I don't know why I went to Winco for sushi. They have, good deals. And I said, oh, do you want to come in with me? She said, no, I'll just sit in the car, maybe listen to some country music. She loves listening to that. And I thought, you're going to sit in the parking lot? Oh yeah, that's like a different thought, right? Because that's not what we were accustomed to in other places. She wouldn't necessarily sit there. She's not my height, right? Or my stature, however you want to word that, if you know what I'm saying. She's not my size, right? Obviously. So my wife's like, oh, I'll just sit in the car. It's almost 11 o'clock at night. It might have been after 11. I'm not even sure of the time. I saw some kids in the parking lot. They were playing on skateboards and I think they were just drinking soda. They were just having fun, So I come back out. I took my sweet time. Came out 15 minutes later, probably. The windows are rolled down. Her feet are up. She's listening to music. And I'm thinking, wow, what a different experience. Wow. The feeling of safety that I have is so different. My wife, and I really wish she would make a video about this. I'm going to try to get her in the videos. She feels great walking alone at night. She just has a different feeling. When you hear like a crunch on the ground or something, you don't turn over your shoulder and say, oh, what was that? What was that? You don't think about that stuff. That's how I feel. And I would be surprised if someone came and didn't feel the same. It is such a different feeling. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that. The law enforcement, which people really value and appreciate. The enforcement of the laws, right? We can word it a different way. These are things, again, People appreciate. If you're coming from a place where you don't feel safe, and then you come to Idaho, you have to think about that, okay? You might say, well, it's a little bit boring. They don't have this or that. Or I want to change the politics. I want to change the city. Well, think about that for a minute. Why is Idaho so safe? And why is the place where you are not so safe? Is it because they don't enforce the laws? It's not because they don't have laws, right? I mean, they have laws. I mean, I don't know every law, but they've got laws, they got rules. But do they not enforce them? Do they just let people go free? Well, that's not the energy I get in Idaho. No, it's different. And every time I say to myself, oh, I wish I could do X, Y, Z, or they don't have this restaurant, I think, you know what? I think my wife, myself, and the dog, we're gonna go for a walk. Never gonna look over my shoulder, I'm gonna feel good. That level of safety is, let me tell you something. If that's what you're looking for, if you want peace of mind, reach out to us, okay? Because this place is, I've never been anywhere like this. Now, I have traveled to the Midwest. I've been to Omaha, Nebraska. That's a bigger city, so it's going to be different. I've been to Iowa, but in smaller towns, and I did feel quite safe in those small towns as well. And I've been to most of the Western states, and I've been to big cities where I didn't feel safe. Okay, I've been in New York City on vacation. You can just read the news, okay? Just read the news. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, I saved the best for last. This is it. This is what do they say? The pièce de résistance. It's the pièce de résistance, however they say it. This is the thing I love the most after having a place in Idaho for almost, oh no, actually, what do I think? It's over 18 months. We're going to start it's over 18 months. It's number 10 on my list. The people of Idaho. That should be the number one reason. That's the number one reason I would tell someone that I do love Idaho. And the people I have met are wonderful. They are good people. Even the people I met who moved from those states that the Idahoans do not want people moving from, like California, like Oregon. It's not that they don't like Oregon, by the way. It's that they don't like Portland, in case you're wondering. Or Salem. There's some cities they don't like. The people I have met have been incredibly helpful, amazingly friendly, very inviting, and they've made coming there really special. Here's the thing. From the first day that I rolled up my garage and the neighbors just started coming over, it was amazing. Okay. I just bought my place, right? So you can imagine that, the grass had some issues, the trees, maybe I need a few things to fix. People said, oh, you don't have any tools or they're in a box? I'll lend them to you. Did I own a lawnmower? No, I never owned a lawnmower. Coming from the desert, we have, zero escaping with our, turf. And coming from another place, we're at a condo. It's not the same. They offered to not just lend me their tools, not just lend me their lawnmower. Okay, not just give me their clippers to trim this tree, which was like out of control, but needed to be leveled out. They said, hey, do you want me to come over and help you? I looked over at my wife and I'm like, see, I knew it was going to be like this. The people here are what so many of you are longing for. The people in Idaho have a sense of community, have values, you could say morals, different things. Not everybody. But that's the predominant feeling, that the values and the sense of community, the friendliness, the helpfulness, the way they're just, it's just a classic American. It's so amazing. For example, my neighbor, and if he's watching this video, I'm not gonna say his name, but I want to give him a shout out to how much I appreciate him. I was out of town, and obviously I travel. I'm lucky to have some other places. I'm very fortunate. He said, your grass is getting really tall. And I had someone cutting my grass for me, and the guy I think he disappeared. I think he might have been ill or something. He wasn't able to come. And my neighbor said, you know what, I'll let me mow your lawn for you. I was like blown away. What a good guy. What a good guy. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I met a guy in Idaho also, who I was telling my story about Oregon. I got to get my furniture out. I got some of the boxes out. I've left some stuff there. You know, what I was doing at that place was going to be different, so I needed to move a lot more stuff. And he said, oh yeah, let me help you. And I said, well, I need to paint a room. I mean, I've got a lot of things to do. I'm going to fly out there and get to work on that. And he said, yeah, I'll come out and help you paint. I said, no, that place is in Oregon. It's like 6 hours away. He's like, yeah, I know where it is. I know where the map is. You know, I understand the map. Yeah, I'll come out there. I'm thinking, this guy who's known me for a few weeks, a few months, he's willing to come 6 hours away to help me. I mean, I have never met people like that in my whole life. Everybody I meet invites us over. There's such a feeling of community. And I get that partially, I think, because of the homeowners association I'm in and the neighborhood. But you get that, no matter where I meet people, they're all like this. They're super friendly. All the things I said, the people of Idaho make Idaho, right? So again, I want to say something. If you're moving from out of state and you meet these people, take a second and think, like, why are they all so nice, so helpful, so friendly? It's the environment, right? And it's just, Idaho hasn't changed like so many other places have. So that's good. And it does have some things that might, you know, you might not be accustomed to, right? Like, again, it's not Las Vegas. You can't get sushi 24 hours a day. Who cares? You've got good people around you all the time that will be there for you when you need them. And when you come to Idaho and you come to Treasure Valley, no matter what city you live in, meet your neighbors, join the circle of support, you know, help each other, be there for them, just like they'll be there for you. Because that is something incredible about living in Idaho. Okay, so, all right. My wife's gonna laugh when she watches this video because she's gonna tell me how I'm all pumped up and I'm waving my hands around. But these are all positive things. I like to be positive. You know, we had some years where things weren't so positive. But they seem to remain positive in Idaho. And I should have thought about that earlier. And that is actually what I'm going to talk about in another video about what led me to Idaho. It's not just the freeway. Okay, so if you're thinking, this is what you want this in your life. You want all this stuff. I get it. So what do you need to do? Well, we're going to make it really easy for you. You're going to send me an email, send me a text message, give me a call on the phone, okay? Get in touch, get on my calendar. And I have the calendar link in the description below, okay? Let's talk about all these awesome things. The team wants to help you with this. The team I work with loves Idaho, okay? When I talk about things that I wasn't accustomed to, they're like, who cares? You know how great it is here? Their passion will inspire you to go ahead with the move. And I know this was a long video, but I had a lot I really wanted to share with you. And I cannot wait to hear from you. So reach out to me, okay? And on top of that, drop a comment below. Let me know what else you want to hear about living in Idaho, about moving to Idaho, about why Idaho is right for you, or maybe it's not. And I also want to know where you're watching the video from. What state are you watching from? And if you're in Idaho, what city? Are you thinking of moving to the Treasure Valley? Are you thinking of moving to Boise or Eagle or Star? Well, let me know. All right, everybody. I cannot wait to see you in the next video. I've got so much more to share all about moving to Idaho. So it's your host here, Dave, once again, with the Idaho Crew. Take care, everyone.